I'm going to discover something about myself I may not know. Heck, I'll ask the first date. I'll go for it.
This week's guest is Ali Sandu, System VP of Clinical Ancillaries and Radiation Oncology. And what I love is he's able to share his journey from where he started. Didn't even plan on being in the role that he's in today. Welcome to this week's episode of Leadership Soundbites with Michelle and my very special guest, Ali Sandu. System VP, Clinical Ancillaries, and newest role, Radiation Oncology with Adventist Health. Ali and I used to, I wouldn't say work together. We knew each other when we were both at Sutter Health, but our paths crossed in that environment. And it was cool to watch you evolve and your career evolve when you went to the Bay Area and then the movement that you had. So it's awesome to have you in the room again. So thank you, sir. I know you've got a quote. We're going to talk about your background and your journey and have a chat about that on leadership lessons that you've had along the way. And you have a quote to kick us off.
Yes. First, thank you, Michelle. Thank you for this opportunity. It's actually exciting to share and have a conversation with you. One of my all-time favorite quote is, never underestimate the difference you can make. Often as leaders, we can get caught up in our day-to-day work and our projects and our strategy and overlook how you might be being received, right?
Yeah.
The difference you could be making for the other party could be one of your colleagues, could be your subordinate, could be a patient, and remembering that difference that you want to make, obviously we all do. We want to make a positive difference. We want to do the right thing. However, like they said, the beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. It's the person receiving the information you're giving to see how it's received. So being cognizant that difference could also be negative if we're not aware and cognizant of our behavior. So first, I love that quote. It reminds me that I am making a difference, number one. And number two, there's also inspirational piece to this. We can sometimes be tasked with what may seem like unsurmountable task and not have this belief that I'm going to be able to do that. And then it reminds me that, you know what, I can make the difference and I can achieve this. And so I like the inspirational piece of that as well. So yeah, it's under my signature. Never
I love that. You know, what's funny is when we do stuff like that, it's like people do Post-it notes. I'm a Post-it note person, right, around the monitor. But you do Post-it notes, maybe there's a saying on the wall. It's like I've got one thing in my office that said she needed a hero, and so she became one. I don't even have to look at it anymore. I know it's there, and that works in the background in our subconscious as we go through life as well. So yeah.
A quick story. When I worked at SMCS, we did thank you notes, which I do to this day.
Yeah.
I sent a thank you note to one of my night technologists. He came to my office door. Actually, I can still visualize him standing in the doorway. He said, that was the nicest thing anyone has done to me in my last 24 years of my career.
Oh my goodness.
Simple thank you note. So the difference that made on him, wow. So so you never know.
No. You know, it's interesting is that recognition, because you came to mind for me. I used to do process improvement events, right, at the different hospitals. And so we were at this one hospital doing an event in surgical services. And so it's a 5-day, Kaizen event. And this one surgical tech, scrub tech, he had been with that particular hospital. Okay. And the CEO had been there as long as this guy had been there. That particular hospital for 25 years. And on Fridays, I don't know if you remember, we do report outs on the event, right after the week-long event. So we do the report out, and leadership of the hospital came to the report out. And so this particular scrub tech, as this leader walked in, he looked up and he goes, "Who's that?" I said, "That's your CEO." Okay. So to your point, it's like, be present, acknowledge people, show what's going on. So that especially in that kind of an organization, people on the front line, especially further you get up in leadership, they know who you are. They feel comfortable approaching you or talking to you. They know that they matter because you've gone around and had conversations with them. And I think that's part of what Quint Studer's talking about as well.
Yeah, and we're most vulnerable in 24/7 operation because you have 3 shifts.
Yeah.
More often administrations during the day. So one of my mentor taught me, and I always practiced when I worked at the hospital, that I would go at night, sit, chat with my night staff, my evening staff. So you don't have 3 different cultures. You have daytime, evening, and night culture. In order to ensure consistency, you also then need to be present and
Yeah.
make folks know what's important to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you make time for that? Because it's that you mentioned a mentor that did that. And I think one of the things when you and I were chatting beforehand was the value of having a mentor at all levels of your leadership as you're going through. Who were you before, Ali? And compared to who you are now, when you look back, I know you smile, okay? So what are some of the changes that you made, and what were some of those triggers for some of those changes?
I think one thing that we all must acknowledge is where we were yesterday, we want to be in a better place today. We may have the desire, however, we cannot do that. Most of the time, we cannot do it ourselves. You can have the willingness. And that's where I see a great value in ensuring you have coaches, mentors, role models. And for me, I was a frontline technologist back in the day when my CEO said, I think you should do an interim role in management. I'm like, moi? Like, what? Really?
Are you crazy?
So starting from that day, I had a mentor who guided me, helped me in areas that I needed to develop. Because what is the most common thing that we do, and we all know this and we continue to do this, is we promote folks from their technical expertise, whatever they may be, maybe process improvement, nurse, a technologist, a physician, and they're promoted to a leadership role, which requires whole different level of competency. When I go back to my clinical training, in order for me to perform a clinical task, I had to be signed off on that competency. Similarly, in leadership, how often are we dealing with situations? Granted, they are subjective and very dynamic than prescribed, but we do know themes. For example, do you know how to have a difficult conversation, a crucial conversation, which is naturally defined by conversation you or the other party may not want to have. That's what makes it crucial. So how do you learn that? So the training, the leadership development piece is essential. So for me, it started from that initial mentor I had, went to then formal schooling. When I was at Sutter Health, we had Leadership Academy, MCE. So mentorship, as well as I think having structured training, and then having a wingman or wingwoman to give you feedback. It's a continuous improvement. But one thing is for sure, if you don't have a mentor, your ability to grow and develop, you may not reach your full potential, and it might be minimized. So where I was before, obviously, I was unaware of my own actions, my own, like how am I being received? And through leadership training and development, the biggest change that I noticed, and even to this day, is self-awareness. In every situation, are you self-aware of your impact on others? And then continue to refine that. And my other favorite quote, which I have on my desk here, is, in fact, when I worked with my team at SMF, one of my team members gave it to me. It says, I am still learning, by Michelangelo. And that is so true. We're still learning every day. And it's a work in progress. So Now I think I'm just more self-aware than I was before, resulting into obviously a different approach to every situation.
Yeah. What is there something I have to agree. It's interesting when we look back at ourselves maybe 10 years ago, 20 years ago, because you had a pretty long career at Sutter Health before you
25
left.
years. 20.
Yeah, I mean that's more than a minute
Yeah,
of your career journey.
yeah, I started when
Um,
I was 12.
yeah, yeah, they hired young men.
Yeah.
Um, is there a standard? Because I mean, it's interesting. You talk about I became a leader and then I had a mentor. That doesn't always come in the same sentence, Ali. I mean, not every person who's new to leadership gets a mentor. Did you find them or did they find you?
The latter, and I consider myself very fortunate.
Yes.
And actually, Michelle, up to this day, I practice that, paying forward.
Yeah.
Just like I could have retired as a technologist, like work my whole life doing that, if someone else did not see what I did not see in myself.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I have gone to folks that were not in leadership, but I knew they had the potential. I won't say the names just
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
anonymity. And they're like, really? I can do that? I said, I know you can. That same thing was done with me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was fortunate. And I think that's another leadership responsibility we have, Michelle, is actually taking time to look for others that may not see their own abilities to
Mm-hmm.
lead and bringing the best out in them. That's one of the definitions of a great leader is
Yeah.
bringing the best out in others. And I've been fortunate. I've been a recipient of at least 4 mentors that I still go back to and seek advice. And recently, actually, got an agreement from a leader who's willing to be my mentor in an area that I need to grow in. So I also reach out and
Mm-hmm.
because leadership is your responsibility, not someone
Yeah.
else,
Yeah. We have to lead ourselves first.
right?
I love that story, and I love the fact that what you said was I could have retired as a technologist.
Mhm.
So what that tells me is you didn't step into it with these aspirations of being in leadership, let alone. So I mean, if you look back at yourself 30 years ago, would you have said, and Ali, in 30 years, you're going to be the system VP of ancillary, and a clinical ancillary and radiation oncology? What would the 30-year ago Ali had said?
There's no way. Like I see myself just providing direct patient care. I don't see myself in leadership. Never, like I said, I never. That was not the goal. This was not the goal.
Yeah,
It's God's mercy,
yeah,
other investment in me, and of course, you have to put in the work,
yes, oh
right?
yeah,
And which honestly, putting in the work for me is that's not the hard part. The hard part is coming across people in life that care about you, that care about your development, that are willing to sacrifice their time
hmm
for you. I mean, I remember, and I still, when I talk to my mentors, say, hey, can we connect for 30 minutes? These are busy executive CEOs and presidents.
hmm
They're taking time out of their day to spend with you.
hmm
I mean, what an honor.
It is. I have people like that I reach out to now that that will answer my texts, that will answer my phone calls, that will reply to emails, that hey, I need a thought partner right now. I need, someone to bounce stuff off of. And when the relationship though, Ali, has been this one of reciprocal, right? So it's like, they're giving to you, but you give back to them because you're actually doing something with it.
Yes.
And that feels good to people, when you're able to help and you're looking, you're going, oh my God, look how proud you're, like a proud parent. When you're helping someone and in leadership and developing them, that's what I feel like. when I'm helping and I watch the trajectory of their careers, it's like, man, that feels good.
Yeah, and we often talk about servant leadership, and one of the key tenets of servant leadership to me is prioritizing the needs of others,
Hmm.
right? And that goes into mentorship as well. If you were selfish and you valued your time and only spent it where you got something out of it, then that's truly not servant leadership
Mm-mm.
style. You may say, I'm a servant leader, but are you practicing that? So, yeah, no, I've been grateful. I've been fortunate first
Hmm.
and grateful every day for what others have uh, done for me and continue to. And I do
Yeah.
my best to pass that on. I'm mentoring about 6 people right now, in a formal mentorship role,
Hmm.
where again, I'm not doing anybody any favor. I'm really passing on what was given to me.
Yeah. So I have thoughts, but what do you recommend to people who are listening and say, I don't have a mentor. I don't even know where to start.
But first, you have to ask yourself, why don't I? Am I standing in my way? Do I have the humility? Like, get your why. Or is it I do not have connections or networks? Or is it I'm not sure where to start? Right?
Hmm.
So once you get your why, you gotta then take next step accordingly.
Hmm.
And I'll tell you, most often it may be that you don't want to inconvenience somebody.
Yeah.
You're not sure how they're going to respond.
Hmm.
But I'll tell you, personal experience, folks are a lot more generous in giving than you think they
Hmm.
are. So get over that self barrier that you put up, and just reach out.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm glad you said that because it's one of the things I'll do when I coach, because I have plenty of people I coach at different levels in leadership. And one of the things is to say, who around you do you know that you can connect with? Because there are people that are in the role that you want already. There are people that have a different seat at the table that you have connections with. But you just have to reach out and ask. It's like I had a former colleague from Sutter reach out to me about his son who is, finished his graduate and is looking to step into stuff and had questions around the process improvement world. He's like, will you talk to him? Of course I'll talk to him. So scheduled a call. We met for 30 minutes, which actually became 45. I gave him some, thoughts and stuff, some tools. And then he reached out later, like 2 weeks later. So I've used this, I'm doing this. I want to get your feedback on it. It's the greatest feeling when you have people that you've, helped or given thoughts to, and they do something with it and then want to come back and take the next step. And I think that's the biggest thing when you're reaching out to get a mentor, and I'm sure you'll agree. If not, let me know. Listen to them, take action on what you're hearing, report back to them on what the action is that you've taken, because otherwise they wonder whether or not it was worth their time. To your point, you've got busy leaders and they are taking their time to be able to help you.
Michelle, every, folks may define happiness differently, but if you look at sort of the chemical makeup of our body,
Mm-hmm.
there have been a lot of white papers and studies on this. When you help somebody, that sense of helping someone gives you this joy and this sense of harmony. You actually release certain chemicals in your brain like that. Oh, that felt good,
Yeah.
right? So when someone's mentoring you and then you go back and close the loop with them and they know you did something with the knowledge, with the information, it gives them that sense. And guess what?
Yeah.
When something makes us happy, what do? We want to repeat that. We want to
Yeah.
be proud of it, right? And it's, one of the customs we've done since my kids were little is if we get out of a restaurant and they're leftovers and we run into someone who's needy,
Mm-hmm.
my kids, we say, give it to the needy, ask them if they would like this type of food. And if they say yes, just give it to them. And then
Right.
we got to a point when we're going inside the restaurant, if my kids would say, just get something We might
Yeah.
run into somebody, and I'm like, why did we do that? It's not about the other person, to be honest with you. It's about you. You
Yeah.
are getting this rush of um, um, happiness, for lack of a
Yeah.
better word,
Yeah.
and that you do it again and again. Same with
Yeah.
leadership, mentoring others, coaching others, makes you
Yeah.
want to do more.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And it just it continues the cycle, right, of the learning and the
Yeah.
development. I have one last question for you because I'm curious.
Yeah.
Especially just since the thing of I had that not happen and someone said, "Hey, why don't you step in this interim leadership role?" And you're like, "Me?" And you would have seen yourself retiring as a technologist had that not happened. Interesting how life does that. At what point, Ali, did it become to where you like, okay, I want to continue on this path?
So first, there's a reason the CEO asked me to be interim.
Yeah.
So once I stepped into that role and realized I'm really good at solving
Yes.
problems,
Yeah.
but then um, there are certain things that feel very uncomfortable, especially, you know, majority of our leadership role or management role is around people management,
Hmm.
and we people are complex.
Yeah, yes, we are.
So having to then manage folks and not knowing how to do that, once I learned, and I still continue to learn and develop comfort level with the people piece, the technical piece of process improvement, PDSA, lean, all that is learned and makes your life easier. So for
Hmm.
me, it was, you know what, I'm solving problems. As a technologist, I was helping one patient at a time.
Right.
Then I realized as a leader, I can actually institute a change that can help tens, hundreds, and thousands of patients.
Hmm.
So that was invigorating. Like, oh, this is really cool. But then learning how to do that, that was obviously
Hmm.
a challenge. And it just grew from there.
Yeah.
And even to this day, I'm like, how can I do more? How can I challenge myself to make difference at a bigger scale?
Hmm.
So yeah, that's how kind of journey
I,
started and became
I love
exciting.
it. I love it. Well, it's like we had Teresa Fry on the podcast after she retired, and one of the things that she said was, if you don't care about people, you have no business being a leader. In only a way that Teresa Fry could say. But it's one of those things that sentiment is still there underneath what you're saying and stuff. You care about making a difference. You care about the impact. You care about the people that you're engaging with, about paying it forward, about bringing people along. And it's powerful stuff.
You know, it's a privilege to be
Hmm.
in a position where you can impact patients, staff, physicians. And we as leaders must acknowledge that it's a privileged role.
Hmm.
Therefore, don't take it lightly.
Yeah.
You know, make sure before you go into a conversation that you have done your homework, that you're prepared. Because whatever decision that's made is going to have significant impact. Again, the impact could be positive or negative,
Yeah.
depending on uh, what due diligence have you done, what discovery, and how you gotten your teams involved in that decision making. So it's a and I also say that leadership is a heavy burden for that reason, right?
Hmm.
Because you want to do the right thing, and it's not always easy to do the right thing because of complexity and the environment and all these challenges that we are aware of. Therefore, if it's like if you, anything that's worth doing is hard.
Hmm.
So you got to accept that challenge and then make sure that you are taking that privilege as such and knowing it's difficult and it's not going to be easy,
Yeah.
which is the exciting part, right? Who wants
Yeah.
to be easy? I mean,
Yeah. It's kind of boring. Easy's boring. Yeah, I love it. Ali, thanks for your time. I mean, it's just been awesome to be in the room with you again. I mean, it's been a while. I mean, you moved to the Bay Area and then But it's so cool. And I had at least two other people that I've had on the podcast because I asked, who else should I be reaching? And your name was the name.
Oh,
And it's awesome to see who you are today and the leader that you've become. And I look forward to as you continue to evolve and the impact that you make on others. What are one or two things that you want people to walk away with, Ali, just around this topic of leadership and stepping into your best self, basically?
one, I would say what we started with, never underestimate the difference you can make as a leader,
Hmm.
and more specifically, the difference you can make for others. And in
Hmm.
this context, is the patients, it is your subordinates, your peers,
Hmm.
and more importantly, your subordinates, because one of the things I talk about is the relationship between you and your boss and you and your subordinate is a sacred relationship. Folks going to
Hmm.
share with you things that they may not share with anyone else. Treat it as such, and make sure you are aware of the difference you're making.
Hmm.
Second, I would say, Michelle, is acknowledging we don't know what we don't know, and there's a lot we don't know. So how are you going to get it? Is it a textbook? Is it a coaching session? But the best way to get your answer is get yourself a mentor.
Hmm.
Could be someone, some, I think your boss can be your mentor to an extent, but then you
Hmm.
also need someone who's outside, someone maybe your prior boss or someone that you just connected through network,
Hmm.
and making it very structured, letting them know that I'm looking for mentorship, and I'm looking to grow in this area. So then they can help you be focused and targeted. Um, and we didn't talk about this much, but one of my fundamental guiding principle is gratitude. Be grateful for the privilege you've been given
Hmm.
and treat it as such. So you get the energy and others get the energy from that. So yeah, that's what I would say in closing.
It's funny you comment at the end that we didn't talk about this, is be grateful. Every frickin' thing that you said, gratitude was in it.
Well, thank you.
So you didn't need to explicitly call it out. It's at every point, it's this gratitude and surprise and just it's like this blessing, lucky, all that. So it's there, Ollie, in everything that you're saying. But I appreciate you calling it out specifically. The thing I'll add, it's like the whole idea of mentorship. If it's a foreign concept to you, if you don't know where to start, to your point, Ali, take a look at your one up. And I coached a number of people that the one up that the person I'm coaching has more skills than their one up based on that. But to your point, look around and see people. Maybe it's your boss's boss, maybe it's someone in another part of the org, like you said. But or ask a peer if they have a mentor or someone that they would recommend as well. But make the connection. Reach out and be brave because it does take courage to reach out to somebody and ask that question the first time. It's almost like, will you go out with me kind of thing, only scarier because it's somebody they don't necessarily know. But do it, especially if you have aspirations to be, a different human than you are today, or move up in the organization because they have a seat at a table that you don't have a seat at, and can help advise you.
Well, I'll give you another dimension to look at that,
Yeah.
which is you may have a potential inside of you that can only be brought out by someone else. So
Mhm.
wouldn't you want that? Wouldn't you want your full self to be out there, doing what God designed you to do? Um, so why not? If
Yeah.
that, okay, I am nervous, but if that means I'm gonna discover something about myself I may not know, heck, I'll ask the first date. I'll go for it.
Face your fears and do it anyway.
There you go.
I love this, Ali. Thank you so much. This has been Leadership Soundbites with Michelle and Ali. And until next time, have a great day. Thank you.